switch tracks here just a little bit. I would love to hear, and we can maybe even put this on like kind of a separate little video thing. Just your encounter with John Paul II, Saint John Paul II. Now, just to brag on this a little bit, I almost touched him once, and we looked at each other, we saw each other, and I could tell that it was a powerful moment for him too.
Well, if you know, you know.
But tell me about your encounter with Saint John Paul II, how him as a man and as a priest has impacted your life.
You know, it's really interesting. The closest I got to him was like you. I was yards away from him at Giant Stadium, 1995. 2 years married, no kids yet, and I'm actually a singer. So I was singing in one of the choirs for the Papal Mass when he was visiting the United States, and it was Giant Stadium, 90,000 people, jumbotron screens, and I walked up to give the communion meditation, like on the big stage, the platform, and I'm yards behind him. And that's as close as I got to him. And my faith journey, though, it's funny how, we've had, 3 popes in the last 15 years or whatever, but he was the only pope I ever knew. So to me, Pope John Paul II meant pope. I didn't know that there could be another pope. I didn't know that there would be. I didn't know what the past ones, growing up.
Right.
So he was always there. He was always there with his travels, with his teaching, being a media personality. And then as I started to read doctrine, when I started to read, I noticed I could read the difference between, a John Paul II writing on marriage or family. And this is like the mid 90s, late 90s, even 2000s, that even some of the other styles in our faith before the Second Vatican Council, I could tell, and his voice became the norm. That's my point. So he became the norm of what it meant to be Pope. He became the norm of what it means to understand church teaching. And it was only until like 2005 when Pope Benedict was elected that I was realizing, oh, wait a minute, there's a lot of different ways to read this deposit of faith. And but honestly, that move after his death, which moved me more than I ever believed, I expected. I was so rocked by his death. I really felt like I lost a grandfather. And it was then that I started to really, really appreciate who he was in the distinction. As much as I love Pope Benedict, I was an old friend of Ratzinger, still I am, his writing. But then it made me reflect back on those earlier years, and that closeness I had back in 95 to actually meet him became more of this like, oh, I missed it. But it's just generational thing.
I love that. When did you first, because I know you were already in ministry before you discovered the theology of the body, which is the writings of John Paul II on what it means to be human and sex and marriage and everything in between, biblical, meditation. What was that like for you to discover that?
So we're married in 93, and we went into marriage preparation ministry. And part of that was just telling our story. We were so on fire. Melanie and I had such a major conversion back to the faith. It was not we wanted to tell everybody. I mean, I wanted everybody to know how transformative this, if you can hear it in the words that we understand it, it's just the fire of evangelization. And we did that in the beginning, but then people started asking difficult questions. And I wasn't a theologian. I'm not I'm giving a witness. I'm telling you what the Lord can do. But I started to study. And again, I'm an engineer, so I'm used to books like being this thick, and I can do my work. And as I started to read, there were several documents that really became the ones that helped me to form answers that people could hear. There's a translation there because the language as written is so different than the culture. It's not compelling until you see it through the lens of Christ. So I started to develop what would be the ministry by being able to take very difficult teachings and finding a way to speak them in a way that had that joy and that compelling in that sense. Oh, is that what we believe? Oh, that makes sense. I never heard that before.
Right.
So that went on for 10 years. And in 2009, someone handed me a tape of this guy, Christopher West, who I never heard of him before. One of my best friends now, but when I heard it, I actually sat in my car for about a month. Like I could remember it was like on the floor. And this was literally a cassette tape. So this is like, 2002 for all you young bucks listening. But I put that tape in And I tell the story that in 42 minutes, that's how long one side of a tape can go. In 42 minutes, he got through what normally would have taken me 2+ hours to build rapport, to build trust, and then to influence with a vocabulary and a language around sex and sexuality. That's a big turn.
Yeah.
But the way he approached it through this theology of the body now became the way that it's like, you learn how to walk to work every day, and then somebody hands you a Harley. And you're like, wait a minute, we're going to the same place. We're starting, but listen to this throttle. Look how fast we can, look how attractive, look how this allows you to do what you're called to do, but in a way that's just more compelling. So that's just a made up analogy there. But the bottom line is that theology of the body ended up being this accelerant in what was already, dry kindling.
Amen. That's great.